Why does the US dollar rule the world? It's a question that's puzzled economists, frustrated rivals, and shaped the fate of nations for nearly a century. The answer isn't just about America's military might, its economic size, or even the famous "In God We Trust" printed on every bill. The real reason the US dollar dominates global finance is a story of trust, power, and a series of decisions, some bold, some accidental, that changed the world forever. Let us start with a simple fact. More than 80% of all global trade is conducted in dollars. Oil, gold, cars, smartphones, if it moves across borders, chances are it's priced in greenbacks. Central banks from Beijing to Berlin hold trillions in US dollar reserves. When a crisis hits, investors from every continent rush to buy US Treasury bonds, treating them as the ultimate safe haven. But how did a piece of paper from one country become the world's money? To understand, we have to go back to the end of World War II. Europe and Asia lay in ruins, but the United States emerged as the world's undisputed economic superpower. In 1944, at a small resort in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, leaders from 44 nations gathered to design a new global financial system. Their solution? Peg every major currency to the US dollar and peg the dollar to gold. The US promised to exchange dollars for gold at a fixed rate, making the dollar as good as gold in the eyes of the world. This system worked until it didn't. By the late 1960s, America was spending more than it could afford, fighting wars and funding social programs. Other countries began to doubt whether the US could really back every dollar with gold. In 1971, President Richard Nixon shocked the world by ending the dollar's convertibility to gold. The dollar was now backed by nothing but faith in the US government. Many predicted chaos. Instead, something remarkable happened. The dollar's dominance only grew. Why? Because the world had already built its financial system around the dollar. Oil exporting countries agreed to price their crude in dollars, creating the Petrodollar system. Global banks, corporations, and governments had borrowed and lent trillions in dollars. Even as the US ran deficits and printed more money, the demand for dollars kept rising. The dollar became the world's default currency, not because it was perfect, but because it was everywhere and there was no real alternative. Contrast this with other currencies that tried to challenge the dollar. The euro was launched in 1999 with dreams of rivaling the greenback. But political divisions and debt crises held it back. The Chinese yuan is tightly controlled by Beijing, making it hard for global investors to trust. Gold, once the world's money, is too slow and cumbersome for modern finance. The dollar's greatest strength isn't just America's economy, it's the network effect. The more people use it, the more valuable it becomes. But the real secret behind the dollar's rule is trust. Trust that the US government will honor its debts. Trust that American courts will enforce contracts. Trust that, in a crisis, the Federal Reserve will act to stabilize the system. This trust has been tested by wars, recessions, and political turmoil, but it's never broken. Even when the US makes mistakes, the world keeps coming back to the dollar, because the alternatives seem riskier. Of course, this dominance comes with consequences. For America, it means the ability to borrow cheaply, to run deficits, and to project power far beyond its borders. For the rest of the world, it means vulnerability to US policy decisions, from interest rate hikes to sanctions. When the Federal Reserve sneezes, emerging markets catch a cold. When Washington imposes sanctions, entire economies can be cut off from the global system. The dollar's supremacy also creates strange paradoxes. Countries that resent US influence still hold dollars. Rivals who want to challenge the system still use it. Even in the age of cryptocurrencies and digital finance, the dollar remains the benchmark against which everything else is measured. But could this change? Some say the dollar's days are numbered, pointing to America's rising debt, political gridlock, and the rise of China. Others argue that as long as the world needs a safe, liquid, and trusted currency, the dollar will remain king. History shows that reserve currencies do change. Once it was the British pound. Before that, the Dutch guilder, and before that, Spanish silver. But these transitions take decades, and they require not just economic power but global trust. So, what does this mean for you? Whether you're an investor, a business owner, or just someone trying to understand the world, the dollar's dominance affects your life. It shapes the price of goods, the value of your savings, and the stability of the global economy. Understanding why the dollar rules the world isn't just a lesson in history, it is a guide to navigating the future. If you found this story eye-opening or learned something new, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who's ever wondered about the power of the dollar, and subscribe to the channel for more insights into the world of money and history. Your support helps us bring you the stories and strategies that can make a real difference in your financial journey. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update, and let us know in the comments what you think could ever dethrone the dollar. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the world of finance, trust is the real currency.